Hello, everybody, and welcome to this fourth session of Bits and Bytes. Communicate your research effectively, your monthly science communication snack. For those of you who are attending for the first time, Bits and Bytes is a series of short workshops, lunch snack sessions for researchers who want to communicate their research confidently and effectively, and who want to explore the world of science communication. So for each session, we have usually a 30-minute input. Today is going to be different. And then at the end, 10 to 15 minutes for a Q&A session. We will provide the slides to all participants. And if you attend at least 5 sessions, you can receive a certificate of your participation. So for those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Birte. I work for GSO, that is short for Guidance, Skills and Opportunities for Researchers. We are an independent nonprofit in Berlin with more than 20 years of experience in offering career guidance for researchers through CV checks, coachings, interview trainings, also targeted skills development through workshops, like this, for instance, and innovative funding programs. That is the O for opportunities for PhD level researchers to advance their careers in academia. And on the slide, you see how you can reach out to us and find us. And today in this session, it's a special session because I'm not alone. I'm joined today gladly by Dr. Jens Boos. Jens is a group leader. He's leading the Black Hole Phenomenology Group at Karlsruher Institut of Technologie. And he's a Klaus Tschira Bußfund Fellow since 2026, soon to start his project. Welcome, Jens. I'm very happy to have you with us today. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Birte, and hello to everyone, and I hope you all have a good lunch break together today.
So in today's session, I'm gonna have a conversation with Jens to give you an idea of how researchers actually do science communication, and we'll discuss Jens' personal experiences and see some of his science communication in practice, I would say. So this session is designed to offer ideas and inspiration for you to create your own science communication path. And of course, at the end, you will have time to ask your questions to Jens directly. So since Jens is working at KIT Institute for Theoretical Physics and is researching black holes, Jens, my first question to you would be, how would you explain in simple terms what a black hole is and what makes black holes interesting to you?
Oh, how much time you have? I really like that. That's a great question. So black holes are objects in space whose gravitational pull is so strong that at a certain distance from that black hole, not even light can escape anymore, right? So it's a little bit like if you have a ball on the surface of the Earth and you just throw it towards the sky, you know at some point it's going to fall back, right? Unless you throw that ball very, very, very fast. Now, the fastest that anything can move in the universe is the speed of light. And I don't know why that is the case, and I don't know how to measure this, but there are experimental physicists who have measured this and then confirmed this to amazing precision. And so nothing can move faster than the speed of light. And if you are at the surface of a black hole, you would have to throw faster than the speed of light to escape the black hole. That's why the black hole is black, so that everything that goes close enough to the black hole will inevitably fall inside. Not even light can come out. That's why it's black. And you asked me what a black hole is. I also want to briefly say what a black hole is not. So black holes are not science fiction. That's like something that I think is super interesting because they sound like crazy objects, but there is mounting evidence that these things really exist in the universe. Fortunately for us, they're not very close to us. They're very far away. So none of you should worry that this lunch break is going to be cut short or something like this. But they really exist. And why that is interesting to me, as Beate was saying, I'm the leader of the Black Hole Phenomenology Group. What we try to do is we try to search for traces of new physics using the observation of black holes, because black holes are crazy environments to test physics. What I mean by this is usually when you make a physics experiment or a chemistry experiment, you have to put in a lot of energy, right? So you have to heat it up or accelerate the particles. All of this costs a lot of energy. And black holes do that for us for free because they're such crazy objects that have these immense gravitational attractive forces. So if we can observe black holes, we may observe matter, particles, gases, molecules, things that fall into the black hole under extreme conditions that we cannot create on Earth or in any other experiment. And that's why they are very fascinating environments for people like me to look into together with my students and trying to learn something new about physics.
Mhm. And when did you actually first started out on researching black holes? Like at what point in that in your academic career was that, or maybe
Uh,
even earlier?
I've always liked the idea that to understand the nature of space and time.
Mm.
We're all here right now, so we are at a position in time, if you will, and we're all in our office chairs. That is like our location, and all that together forms space time. And that is a real thing that exists. And I always thought this was really cool and really interesting. Already during doing my bachelor studies at RWTH Aachen in Germany. And yeah, for my bachelor thesis, I really wanted to learn what black holes are because we heard about them. You've seen them in like movies, you've seen them, read about them in science fiction books. But what was amazing to me is that you can actually try to understand them mathematically. And yeah, that was about 14 years ago, 15 years ago, and I've been trying to study them ever since.
So it's still fascinating to you after all these years.
Yes, very much
Yeah.
so.
Okay, so for those of you who want a little like a short version of what black holes are, I would like to share with you a video, an example that you can find also on YouTube. So here Jens explains within 1 minute for a science communication contest what a black hole is. So listen carefully and watch carefully.
Okay, so Matthew McConaughey is not so happy about falling into a black hole, but why? Black holes are the most extreme form of matter in the universe. They have horizons where not even light can escape the pull of gravity, which is why black holes are black. And they're not just science fiction, they really exist. But that is not the weirdest part. Black holes exist in space-time, and space-time is basically a collection of all places and times in the universe, so you can think of it as the fabric of existence. So what is the weird part? Albert Einstein says that deep inside a black hole there must be a so-called singularity, and that singularity, just like a needle, rips a hole into the fabric of space-time. So space and time would end inside of a black hole, literally the worst thing that could ever happen. So many physicists try to come up with a modified theory of gravity where the singularity needle is somehow softened and spacetime is saved, but so far there is no convincing solution. We don't think that there are bookshelves inside of black holes, but the real answer is probably still out there.
Yeah,
1
wonderful.
minute. There you go.
Yes, exactly. 1 minute exactly. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you like how was the let's say the idea behind that video and the production. Are there a few things that you can maybe share with us for those who wonder, okay, maybe producing YouTube videos could be also something for me as a means of science communication.
Yeah, for sure. So you see in the title, what's inside of a black hole, and then it says hashtag Veritasium contest. So for those of you who don't know, Veritasium is a YouTube channel that explores topics in science and explains them to a very broad audience. And typically the videos get millions and millions of views. And I think this was in 2022. that this YouTuber announced a competition to make a 1-minute video on basically any topic that you like. And around that time, I had attended a couple of science outreach events. I had also taken part in a couple of science outreach events, and I had a couple of materials like that needle thing that presses into space time, or that animation in the background. And I've always tried to print them on maybe on a website or on a poster, but I'd never tried video. And at the same time, at that time, I'd been running my YouTube channel for like 5 or 6 years or something like this. So I had some experience with editing videos, but never science communication videos. And I just thought, okay, why not give that a try? And then I just went for it. And the video, I should say, I didn't win any prize with this, so I should probably remove this Veritasium contest from the title at some point. But it was a lot of fun to make this video, to explore also the ideas of connecting your research with music, with sound effects, to try to tell a coherent story and fit it all into 1 minute. So a lot of things that I had to do in that moment, they were not related to physics at all. They were related to editing. They were related to basic ideas of cinematography. I mean, I'm certainly not an expert, but I try to play around, have some fun with it. Yeah, that's the story of that video. So go and watch it. It needs more views.
Yes, you will receive. You have the link in the presentation also, so you can watch it as often as you want. Now, for someone who's at least curious about science communication, from your personal experience, what would be a good way or a good place to start with?
I would say the best, well, let me say it this way. It's just good thing to start. Don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about what will people say. Don't worry about like, is my research actually interesting? Just get started. If that is something that you feel like you want to do, I would really highly, highly recommend and encourage you to just get started. And why am I saying this? Because it's kind of a cycle. Once you do this, you realize new things about your research. You realize that, okay, when you have to explain what you do in 1 minute, in 3 minutes, in 5 minutes to a broad audience, you're really forced to think about what is important to my research, what is at the core of my research. If people forget everything, they will forget your name, they will forget your paper that you published, you will forget the name of your co-authors. If you want them to remember one thing, what would that be? And then you go backwards from there. And that is just a very, very useful way, not just to do science communication, but also to think about your own research. And so to get started, it's just try to find local initiatives. I mean, you have to find what works for you as well. You have to find the medium that works for you. You have to find the type of audience that you're looking for. There's a lot of opportunities from podium discussions, but also things like pub nights where you just grab the microphone and talk for 5 minutes. There's anything in between. So it has to push yourself a little bit, I would say, because it takes some courage. But try to find what feels right for you. And the best thing is just get started, and then the rest we'll figure out on the way. And I should also say, this is still early enough in the video and in this recording. I'm definitely not an expert on science communication. I'm just an enthusiastic practitioner of science communication, okay? So keep that in mind. Take everything that I say with a grain of salt. There are people who know a lot about science communication, and I'm not one of those people.
But thank you. That's very modest. But I think what I saw so far, I found pretty interesting, and we're gonna look at your YouTube channel also a little bit later. And for you personally, like, at what time did you get interested in science communication? So what was your starting point, and what do you enjoy about it?
So when I did my second master's degree at Perimeter Institute in Canada, it is this huge privately/publicly funded theoretical physics institute in Canada, and they do have outreach events roughly once a month. They have movie nights open to the general public, and whenever that happens, they ask the master and PhD students to put on a T-shirt that says "Ask me, comma, I'm a physicist." And I never did that because I was terrified. I did not want to do that because there were too many people. It was just too much for me. But it got me thinking. And then, but this place was very busy place. A lot of people around. Didn't really make a difference if I was going to join this or not, or so I felt. But then when I started my PhD, it was a more quiet place, and they had a thing that was called the Image of Research competition. And the task was to convert your research into one image. And being a theoretical physicist, I don't have a lot of images, but I tried to convert some formulas into diagrams and then artistically play around with this. And then I submitted this, and this was a lot of fun because it got picked up. It was shown in a local museum, and I had a lot of people come up to me and talk about this. And then I realized, wow, I really like talking about my work to people outside of the field. It was a very nice experience, and I think yeah, that's what really got me started on this whole journey, and it was very unexpected because I did not spend so much time on making that image. I spent maybe 2 or 3 evenings, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this is also because when I started my PhD, I found myself working a lot, and a lot, and only on physics. And I was like, there must be more to life, you know? There must be more. Well, okay, so there's also other things to life, obviously, but then physics or science and science communication. But it's really nice to have a sort of like a creative outlet for what you do at work. And that's what really drew me in, and that's what kept me there, I guess. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Now, I sometimes do workshops on how to get into science communication with PhD students or postdocs. And sometimes I get hesitant questions. For instance, is science communication really something that is relevant? Or even more, how could I, as a PhD student or postdocs, persuade my supervisor or PI, who's maybe a little bit or more than a little bit critical on science communication? Like from your perspective, do you have something that you would reply for such hesitance?
Yeah, I can say a lot of things about this because that happens all the time that people ask this. It's a very natural question because being a PhD student, a student in general, or also later being a postdoc is not easy because you have to navigate a lot of things. You have to be active in research. You have to maybe teach. You also have to appease your boss and what they want, and so it's a lot of things on your plate. So what ends up happening a lot of times is that science outreach and science communication are done in your spare time. They're done on a Saturday, on a Sunday. They're done late in the evening in the office, and that's just the reality of what happens. But there are 2 things that you can definitely say in those moments. And the first thing is sort of like more like intrinsically motivated for yourself. You can make the point that if you explain your research well to a broader audience, it's going to make it a lot more likely in the future that you get third-party funding. Why? Because you are experienced in breaking your research down to the core principle. You don't just talk to your community, you talk outside of the community. And a lot of times, if you apply for grants that are on the national level, at the international level, your grant proposal is not going to be read just by an expert in your field. It's going to be read by a jury, a multidisciplinary jury. And that's not just for grants, that's also for PhD fellowships, even for job applications. I mean, people will not always be specialists in your fields. In fact, most of the times they will not be specialists in your field. And if you know how to talk about your field in a way that is, I think that is very important, that is authentic, but it is close to the scientific truth, that is just a really good skill to have. That's the one thing. That's going to be related to you as a person. But there's also a second thing, which is if you are at a university environment where you have a big group, and maybe your group leader says, okay, I don't have time for you to do science outreach. You can say, well, are you interested in getting good new students? Are you interested in making some headlines maybe in the local newspaper? Because if you answer yes to any of those questions, you need to do science communication. Because if you have good people in your group who do science communication, the word gets around and they know, like, okay, there's this group that is doing really cool stuff with, I don't know, ultra cold molecules or French literature of the 17th century. It can be anything, right? It can be really anything. But if you have a presence in science communication, you generate that attention, and that usually translates into more engagement also with the student body. So it really also benefits your group.
Thank you for those really, really good arguments. As someone who's also managing a funding program, I can definitely sign at least the first the first point that you made, that it's becoming more and more relevant and interesting also to funding organizations. Yeah. Now, another doubt I often hear, and you probably too, and you partly, you said also already something to that, is like, how am I supposed to find and make the time for science communication on top of everything else that I have to do as a PhD researcher or postdoc?
Yes.
Do you have maybe 1 or 2 tips for our audience?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm at KIT, and we actually have an Institute for Science Communication, which is really cool. So I encourage you, wherever you are, look in your local environment, look at your university, maybe a different university in your same city. Are there university professionals working on this as well? That's a good starting point, because you may have if you're looking for a job, right? Maybe you are sick of grading papers or supervising lab courses or doing those kind of student jobs. Why not get a student job in a department that focuses on science communication? They don't get a lot of questions from other institutes, because most people, they stay in their own institutes when it comes to student jobs. But there's certainly no law against asking. So I would say try to ask around and try to make it part of your daily routine, in the sense that it's going to be a part that also earns you money as a student job, because that is time well spent. A lot of times, so well, not a lot of times, but there's of course no guarantee that this works. So in some sense, initially at least, you will have to spend your own time. That's also part of the reality, I would say. That's why it's important that you pick something that you enjoy doing. If you see it as a chore, if you see it as, I just want to put that in my CV because apparently everybody wants this, and it may not be the right thing for you, because it may just burn you out. It may just be one more thing to do. In that case, maybe there are better ways that you can, diversify your profile as a scientist. But if you enjoy this, and if you find something that you enjoy, try to put in a little bit of time. Don't put in, like every single night until midnight and keep doing it, because that's also excessive, I would say. But try to find a healthy way to include it in your life. Gonna say something. This is gonna be recorded and on YouTube, so I hope my boss doesn't find this. But if you take 1 hour a day, and do this in your office, you're probably gonna be fine. Okay, probably. But the reality is you'll have to spend some time to do it. I mean, it's a little bit like freelance work. I talked to some people who are in science communication professionally, and they're also freelancers. So like, it's not like they have a 9 to 5 where they go to and then they do science communication, and at 5 o'clock they go home. A lot of times they do this on commission, or a couple of months they're really busy, and then a couple of months they're not so busy. So it's also part of it's close to journalism, and journalism can also be this way. There is a freelancing aspect to this. The last thing is, if you really want to earn some money, you can also proactively contact science magazines, especially if you're a PhD student or a postdoc. If you have a good idea, if you have some good story, if you have some idea, just contact them. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, and you will not earn, like tens of thousands of euros or something like this. I mean, that's also part of the story, but you will be able to earn some money with this too. So be active, reach out, and but be prepared to spend some of your own time.
Yeah, thank you. I think in one of our last sessions, I don't know if it was a comment from the audience or someone else came up with the idea, was also to maybe share some responsibilities, like find another PhD student or postdoc in your group, in your institute, with whom you get along well, and make this a joint project, so you can share the time, share the responsibility, and co-develop ideas together, and then you don't have to bear all the burden of work just by yourself.
Yeah, you got to distribute the risk somehow.
Yes.
But also, if you're stuck, I mean, it's a creative process, right? So as scientists, sometimes we're not used to this, and sometimes we're used to the scientific method. But if you want to tell a story, sometimes you just have writer's block and you don't know what to do. And then if you have a group of people that you can ask, it's just fantastic. So yeah, reach out locally and talk to your friends. And
Yeah, so the second example of your work in science communication I want to show is an excerpt from your YouTube channel, Friendly Wire. The videos are pretty extensive, but I want to show you the introduction to one of your videos where you actually, well, it's a DIY tutorial, I would say, video for an analog calendar with LEDs and switches. So let's look at the introduction.
Sometimes it's really easy to get lost in electronics, especially when you're just getting started. I mean, everything nowadays has a microcontroller in it, needs to be connected to the computer, or there is an app to control it. And I'm guilty of this too, because I talk a lot about microcontrollers here on this channel, but not today. Because sometimes it is nice to just go back to the basics. So today I want to show you how you can build a simple electric calendar. For every day, there is a switch and an LED where you can manually increase the date every day. This way you can read off the date simply by counting LEDs. But that can take some time, plus it's a bit boring. And that's why I will show you how you can modify an ordinary panel meter and add it to the calendar so that the position of the needle points to the current day.
I really like it, especially the the setup in the background.
yeah, and I also have to give a huge thanks to my wife, who's also here today. She allowed me to put this contraption into the living room during Christmas time. So thank you for that.
Nice. Thank you, Aisha, also from my side. It's a great background. Now, so your YouTube channel, I think when I checked today, you have like close to 21K subscribers. And so far you've produced 29 videos, also longer videos, with DIY tutorials and some projects that you were working on. And this brings me to the last question of doubt that I often get is I wouldn't know what I want to talk about that would be interesting outside of my scientific community. Now, this looks to me like this is kind of a hobby to you, maybe.
Yes.
And you made a YouTube channel out of your hobby. But like what would you say to science communication beginners on how to find your topic, develop a brand maybe, and how to find your audience?
I think, especially nowadays, the social media landscape, and let's face it, if you do science communication, a whole lot of this is gonna be done online. So if you look at the social media landscape nowadays, I think what stands out and what still stands out is authenticity to some extent. In the age of like AI video slop and stuff like that, it is actually easier, I would say, nowadays to stand out through authenticity than it was maybe 10 years ago. So what matters is, I think, that you find something that you care about. Don't worry so much about like, okay, who's my audience gonna be? Because like, for example, for my YouTube channel, right? This is beginner electronics. But in a very specific niche. I'm focusing on a very particular type of product called microcontrollers, and I don't use the ones that everybody uses, the famous ones, because I don't like them. Okay, so I like different types. So I did that because I'm passionate about it, and I think that shines through in some of those videos. You can tell if somebody cares about what they talk about or if they just read from a script. And that translates. That translates also. I mean, maybe you have a hobby that you care about, but maybe in your science there's one thing that you really, okay, this I really like, and I would, or maybe you don't know that yet. What is the part that you care about? But I would say if you find that one part or the couple of parts that you really care about, where you feel like there is something in me that resonates about this, take that topic and don't worry so much about like, is it gonna be popular? Is it gonna be a viral video with 20 million views in the first week or something? Most likely it's not gonna be that, right? But it doesn't matter, because what matters is that you care about what you talk about. Because it's better to have, let's say 1,000 or 2,000 genuine engagements and interactions online than to have like 10,000 of people who just quickly look at your video and then skip past to the next one. So I think an engagement, genuine engagement, is driven by authenticity, I would say. But how do you get started with all these things? I mean, there's a huge, like, of course, technical learning curve to it. But you don't have to be perfect, right? There's a saying that is, done is better than perfect. So try to finish something first, and the next time you do it better. And the next time after that, you do it slightly better. And you work on this, you work on that. And I'm sure if I look at this video, this is like half a year old. If I look at that video like 5 years from now, I'll be like, oh my God, there's so many mistakes in this. But if I look at a video that is from 10 years ago, I see even more mistakes in this. But we shouldn't focus on our mistakes, right? We should focus on what we do. We should focus on sharing our passion with the wider community. And I think that's what matters the most.
I'm looking at the time, so I'm gonna jump to the last question that I had for you to maybe sum it up in a little bit, and then we can open the floor to questions from the audience. So to sum it up, what would you say from your experience are your best practical tips for science communication starters? One thing I already heard and I really like it is like, be authentic, go with what you're passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, try to listen to yourself, right? I mean, try to talk about what you care about, not what your environment cares about, because people can feel if it's authentic or not. And the second thing is really just, I know it's not always possible, but if you can, just start it. I mean, just don't think so much about, is it gonna be perfect? What are people gonna be saying about this?
Yeah.
I've never seen an example where a scientist was doing science communication and somebody afterwards said, yeah, they really shouldn't have done that. Never have I seen this. Every single time people go like, well, this was interesting. And yeah, not everything is perfect. I mean, there's always room for improvement, but that's later. I mean, first you have to get started and get some momentum and realize that maybe that there is something about it that you really like. So my advice is, get started. Best practices are also try different media. Maybe it freaks you out to be on camera. Maybe you don't like this. Then try a podcast. Maybe you don't like listening to your own voice. And I felt that way too at the beginning, and you do get used to it. But if you really don't like it, then try writing an article. I mean, there are different types of media for you out there. There's so many different forms of science communication, so many formats that you can try. Give some of them a try, and don't be discouraged. That would be those are like the best practice pieces of advice I think that I have. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Wonderful advices and very much to the point. So Jens, first of all, from my side, and also I guess from BTU side and all participants, thank you a lot. I'm
Thanks for
going to
having
stop
me.
the recording now and then open the floor for questions from the audience.